So then let's ask this. When we started the work you were doing, you're definitely filled with passion, vim, and vinegar. You're ready to take on the world. Still feel like you're ready to take on the world, even though right now it seems like you're taking on yourself. Right,
Hmm. Hmm.
right now a lot, which it's fair. I mean, we all have to fight that battle eventually. Um, but I just wonder, can you see where the roles you did at the beginning have prepared you for the roles now?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, because you think that you want specific things, and you think that you want to be at a certain level, and you want to achieve, these things. Then you do them, and you look back, and you're like, what? Okay, I understand where I wanted to be at that moment or in time. And so as you kind of go along, your path, you go, well, thank God I did that. Even though I might regret it, or I might look at the performance and go, oh, but being able to say, yeah, no, I acted full time for 25 entire days is a lot. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of prep. There's just a lot of work that goes into all that stuff. And so knowing all that now, regardless of success or the performance or all that stuff, you go, okay, yeah, I remember what that was like. And so if I get a greater or lesser opportunity, you're still far more prepared than you would have been without that opportunity. But it's certainly shaped what you want and shaped the opportunities that you seek out and encourage growth from, because like, oh, that was like this, well, I need to elevate a bit more in this specific direction. So without that stuff, I think you'd the likelihood to spin your tires is almost greater.
Hmm.
So it's almost like the foundation. It's like the learning the basics, even though it's not basic at all. It's like full on, here we go.
So can
But
you like okay? So let's do it like this because I'm curious of a specific example. So as an actor, basically looking at the path of how you've evolved, what is one thing you did earlier that now you're glad you did it? So now you're in your whatever your current roles are, right? The roles you're filming or the things you cannot disclose because you're doing it. Where what did the beginning teach you about where you are now, specifically?
it taught me what to be passionate about. It taught me what the difference between needing to do something and wanting to do something. Because needing, to do a part or to tell a story or et cetera, is way different than wanting to. Because wanting to is kind of like, yeah, I want to go to McDonald's. I don't need to go to McDonald's. But needing to is like, it with every ounce of you want to do that. See what I did there? With when you need to, every ounce of you needs to complete that, needs to be invested in it, needs to be thrown at it full force. Whereas in the beginning it was like a want. Oh, I want to be on a movie poster. Oh, I want to see myself on a big screen. Oh, I want people to see me and stuff and recognize me. Okay, great. Who cares? Who cares about any of that? I need to tell this story because I think that it benefits mankind. It's something that people can relate to. I think that it touches people more than saying, "Oh, I want to tell this story." It's kind of, yeah. That's one of the things I learned, and same with roles as well. Like, you audition for something, and you're like, "Do I need to play this character? Is there a huge piece of me that needs to connect to this part of myself, or do I want to connect to this part of myself?" So that's what I think would be the difference.
It sounds to me like you've been able to figure out the difference. Because wanting, we're talking wanting me here. Have you figured out how to turn that need on at will? Because it sounds to me like you. It sounds to me, you correctly understand this. Case in point, I did apply for a job in Edmonton. It was to be a narrative director for a game company up there because I do dialogue
Sick.
all the time. It's something I know I could do expressively well. I could write meta stories about the games, and I'd have a blast. It's nice, but do I really need it? No, because for me, um, regardless whether I get that or not, what I need to do is get people to tell their stories on my show. What I need to do is tell my stories so that people can read them or see them in some form or fashion. That's more important to me
Mm-hmm.
than that. Although I would not say no, I would do that in a heartbeat because yes, it's not everything, but it'd be fun and I would learn
Cool.
something. Yeah, it'd be like what that's an amazing job to
Mm-hmm.
find just searching, just doing some things. I need something. I'm gonna put my name in there anyway. Although I may not need it as much as somebody else, there's always a chance. And if I don't give myself that opportunity, but you did bring something up that was very important. I thought that was interesting is that need, that difference between want and need, that where you're driven when you need it as much as breathing, it drives you in a way that very few things do.
Mm.
So have you figured out how to turn that on and off like a light switch?
I mean, I can trick myself pretty good.
Yeah.
But no, I don't
But
think
is it
so.
a trick?
What?
But is it a trick?
Well, that's an interesting point. I think if you want something bad enough, you can make yourself need it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need something bad enough, you can't make yourself want it. I know that's kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense, but yeah, I think I can. But the tough thing with acting specifically is that you can't lie to the camera. So if you can't see me needing it, it doesn't translate.
Yeah, I agree. But I think this is where I think where I'm going to get at maybe with you, and it's because it sounds to me you need to create stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's if you haven't done it already, I almost feel like you're almost at that point where you're ready to really filter.
Yeah.
You're at that point. You're at that point. So I want to ask the other hard question. You talked about who are you? What do you want? Because here's the I know I don't do small questions. I just don't. But the reason I bring this up is because when you filter and I noticed this with everything I do actually. I did freelancing for a year. And one of the biggest things I had to learn doing freelancing was I kind of had to figure out who I was as a freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing in my case is realizing over and over again that I'm doing the very things I need to do all time. It's that recognition of what those things actually are. I kind of feel if you haven't realized it fully yourself, you're at that point as a producer and you're at that point as an actor. So, what are the roles you want to play? What are the movies you want to produce? Because if you can figure that out, you will know what you need. And the one thing I do notice about really successful people, like really they do the things they really want to do in this life, they know what those things are.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it without hesitation. If you can figure that out, if you know the answers to those questions, and maybe this is why you are in therapy, I do not know. But if you can figure out the answers to those questions, you'll be able to turn that need on and off, and it will be authentic each and every time. And when
That's
you
true.
can do that, you'll get the things you really want.
Mind blown.
Does it make sense?
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's definitely, as an actor though, it's difficult because you don't necessarily get those opportunities that you
Not right
want to
away,
get. No, and so it's like a waiting, it's like a biding your time. It's
but See, and this is where I'm going to call you out a little bit on this. See, I'm going to call you out a little bit. See, you're right. I'm a freelancer, right? So here's something I realize I do very well. I interview people all the time. I have an incredibly good big mouth, and I can get stories out of people as a result. So why try to create stories when I'm already doing it?
Mhm.
That was honestly the hardest thing I had to learn as a freelancer, is that I realized exactly what it was. And then once I did that, once I figured that out, I could find my niche. I asked this question, and you don't have to answer me. I don't. In this particular case, this is where I'm going to sound like you shrink.
It's okay.
So you don't need to give me an answer, but it's important you have an answer, because this is how the world works. This is how your mind works. You move towards what your mind thinks about and dwells about. You're right. As an actor, you may not always have the opportunity to be picky and choosy.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes what happens, this is just how it magically happens. If you dwell on that need long enough and hard enough, they magically manifest themselves in unexpected ways. So sometimes you have to have at least the compass pointed in the direction you want to go.
True.
And maybe that exact part doesn't come up, or maybe that exact movie project to produce doesn't come up right away. But they will slowly but surely look more and more like you imagined. Even sometimes the ones that don't look like it at all, they might be exactly what you imagined. That's a different thing. But the important thing I'm getting at to you is, if you haven't asked that question already, you need to, because I think that's where you're at. You're at that, right? You're at that point.
How did you know?